Hi, my name is Daniela. Thank you for joining me. I am currently in New York, so yeah, there's a lot of breeze and background noise, so please forgive me. Today what I'd like to talk to you about is how do you tell the difference between ghosts and spirits? And that really is, I would say, a vital question because I personally find the energy to be very different. When it's a ghost, I don't like that word, so I'll call it an earthbound spirit, and I just find it disrespectful, but that's just me. And when it's an earthbound spirit, they are choosing to stay as opposed to moving on, to the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. So spiritually, we do have a choice when we pass over. Some people, the earthbound spirits, are so connected to the earth, sorry about the plane in the background, so connected to the earth, the planet, their home, their loved ones, that they are choosing to stay there. They just don't have a physical body. And now keep in mind, they no longer have a physical body, but their personalities are intact. Their personalities, their memories, their connections that they had with people. The only thing that's really different is they no longer have a physical body. So, and how do you know if there is perhaps a ghost or an earthbound spirit in your house? Again, one of the things that I noticed, banging, knocking on your bedroom door, like at least for me it's usually the bedroom door, but it could be any door, but banging, footsteps, it sounds like furniture's moving when it's not. You go and look and nothing's happening. You can, the TV goes on and off. The volume of the TV goes on and off. If you're playing a radio, the volume goes up and down. The station could switch. They're very good at manipulating electricity because they are energy, so it's very easy for them to do. They move things. Some people think that's impossible, but it's not. I've seen it, and I've had witnesses, with me. I wasn't alone. So they can physically move material things. To the point at times they will hide things from you. And if you ask nicely for them to please tell you where it is or return it, sometimes they actually do. What else? Think. The other thing is, like what we would call a haunted house. A lot of times, they are the beings that lived there prior to you. And I will tell you that about a year ago, I was doing a mediumship party, psychic party, and it was an old house. I don't know if it was 100 years, 200 years old. I would think over 100. And I was not using my manners. I went upstairs and I definitely detected the energy. And when I was working, I really didn't want that around, as I was going to be working with clients. And I started to clear the energy, and I immediately felt their anger and resentment, and I realized how rude I was because I'm coming into their space. This is not my home, and I'm trying to clear it, and that is just rude. So I stepped back and realized, okay, how about instead I asked for permission to work in their space, but not to be interfered with. So after that, I was fine. There was no issues. Like, they let me do my thing, even though it was like a 6-hour event. So I would recommend using manners. That being said, I like the personalities, whether just say family members, right? I think most of us are more comfortable with family members, but even sometimes that can make us uncomfortable. My dad loved dogs, and he's been gone quite a while, and I adopted 2 rescues, and I started hearing things in the house when I was alone, humming and whistling, pots banging in the kitchen, and I would check into my energy and go, okay, because it was alarming at first, because even though I do this for a living, to have earthbound spirits in my space, not really one of my favorite things. So that being said, when I checked in, I realized, oh no, this feels very loving, it feels very gentle and kind. And I realized it was my dad, and he really stepped it up. Like there was a lot going on in that activity, and I finally said, Dad, if it's you, can you please, because he was turning lights on and off and stuff like that. I said, could you please just step it back a little bit? And as soon as I asked him to just lower it down a notch, the lights stopped. He stopped messing around with the electricity. So, and then that was just validation. That was my dad. But just say it's not someone that you know, and it is your home, and you're very uncomfortable, because just say when you tap into that energy, it does not feel loving, it does not feel kind. That's a different type of ghost, right? Or whatever, earthbound spirit. And they're not all, you know, just as people have different personalities, so do they. So if it's not somebody that you would feel comfortable hanging out with in your house anyway, that's maybe when you might want to do a clearing. So, and you may want to do it yourself, or you might want to hire someone to help you out with that. So like I said, they identify with this space and with their loved ones, humans, so they may not want to move on for quite a while. The other thing is they can at a later date if they choose to, because the universe will let them have the experience that they want to have. So I know when my 18th birthday, somebody that I had dated briefly from the neighborhood, the night of my birthday, maybe into the wee hours the next day after, he passed away unexpectedly. It was an accident. And he stayed with me for many years, even though we only dated briefly. And when you have someone like that, again, they're not ready to move on. I guess they feel like they have unfinished business, because he was only, I think 18 years old, maybe 19. And he was in my house with me for years, and I would see, and this is like tips for you to know, do I have a ghost in my house? I would see from the corner of my eye, I would see him in form. It wasn't like full technicolor, it was more like a gray thing, you know, a shadowy thing, but I saw him clearly, like full body. The other thing is, I could hear him, like he would talk to me, he would move my things, and God forbid if anybody came into my house and upset me, he was very protective of me, and he would start messing with them where they couldn't think clearly. And they would, a lot of people would not feel comfortable in my home, and they would tell me, you have a haunted house. And let me tell you, I did. He wasn't the only one. I also grew up, my grandfather was a ghost for many years. He would check in around midnight every single night. I felt my grandfather standing in a doorway. Again, even though it was uncomfortable, I didn't feel threatened by either of these earthbound spirits. So it was every night for years. And with my friend, he even followed me into other places, but he finally did cross over, because probably 14 to 15 years after he passed, he came to see me, like it was in a dream state. And at first I didn't recognize who it was, and then once I realized, in a dream we were in bed, and I started to get up saying I needed a glass of water just to get out of the bed. Once I realized it wasn't my husband, and he held me and said to me, please stay, I've missed you so much and I love you. And with that experience, I realized that love never dies. When you love someone, even if it's brief that they're in your life, that love never dissipates. It may transform, like people change, but that love that you had in that moment, that stays with you. And that being said, those are all, I would say, positive experiences with earthbound. But when it doesn't feel positive, it's when, for me, the room temperature drops drastically. Like it becomes really chilly. I've actually heard get out. Let me tell you, I got out as fast as I possibly could. So with that experience, my friend's husband was not a sociable man, and I slept in their bed. She was away. She said I could, and he just totally messed with me. And I heard him when I was like putting the light on, get out. And the anger and the animosity was so strong. I never met him. And she told me, yeah, that was his personality. He didn't like people. So in that instance, that is not a friendly earthbound spirit or ghost. So you really do want to, you know, take the temperature. I don't mean just the room, but does this feel good? Or, wow, do I feel a little threatened right now? Not safe? So again, if you try to clear them from a space that they're attached to, they're not particularly happy with that, and you will feel their anger. Now, spirits choose when they pass to move on. And when I do my mediumship work, most of the time, or almost all the time, I'm connecting with spirits that have chosen to move on. And I am completely comfortable with those spirits because I raise my vibration to connect with them because they're on a higher realm than I am. So I have to be in the zone and connect with them. And it does take a bit of energy out of you. Like for the medium, it takes a toll. So, but that's how I connect with spirits that have chosen to move on into the light, or whatever your belief system is, but they're no longer earthbound. That doesn't mean they can't pop in. They can choose to pop in, but they don't stay in our realm or on earth, because just as it takes energy for me to go up, to raise my vibration, they have to lower their vibration to be with us and to connect with us. So even when I do mediumship work, there's a limited window of how long they're going to stay with me to connect with their loved ones. What else would I like to say? So their also with them, like I said, I have to raise my vibration, and there's a lot of love that comes through. Now keep in mind again, even when they choose to move into the light, they still have their personalities and their memories. So sometimes if they didn't get along with a particular person on the planet, that carries over to the afterlife, and that's something that they're working on. But I have connected with spiritual beings that they told me I didn't get along with this person when I was alive, and I don't particularly want to be here, and they'll peace out pretty fast. Other times when people mess up, they may not have been the best parents or something like that, or the best sibling. They apologize for their mistakes, how unkind they may have been when they were alive, and those people will apologize. Again, when we move into a spirit form, we're still growing, we're still evolving, learning our lessons. It's not like we're in perfection, you know, unless you're an angel that materialized, right? You chose to incarnate. But most people are still working when we pass over. So let's see what else, anything else I wanted to do. I told you that they keep their personality. And if you have any questions that you'd like to know more about this topic, please, you can send me an email. All that information is on my website, www.danielladecastro.com. Or if you'd like a mediumship reading or a psychic reading, even a healing, please let me know. And if you enjoyed this information, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you have any suggestions for a future video, a how-to or something, please give me an email. And my email is info@danielladecastro.com. At least I believe it is. So you might want to check that one out, verify. Anyway, namaste, many blessings. Bye-bye.